everyone. This is part 2 of lesson 3 in our welcome module. My name is Miss Killian. In our last lesson, we learned that just as Wit and Wisdom has content stages that take us through reading a text, we have craft stages that take us through how to write about text. We also talked about how in Wit and Wisdom, we use content when we're talking about learning from reading, and we use craft when we're talking about writing or speaking. Craft is a skill, and skills are things that you can get better at by practicing. Our first craft stage was examine. In our last lesson, we looked at an exemplar, an excellent example of a piece of writing, and we focused on combining sentences. We discussed why this was an effective technique after analyzing what an author did. Today, we'll work on our craft of experiment. We're diving right in and we're going to do what it says. We're going to experiment. This stage is just what it sounds like. You're going to get practice at trying it out. Remember in the last lesson I told you about my great aunt Sophie and how I learned to make lasagna by watching her? I also got better by then experimenting and trying it out myself in the kitchen. Sometimes I did it well and sometimes I failed. But you know what? I got better by practicing. The same is true with writing. It's important to look at what effective writers do, but also it's important to try out those techniques in your own writing. Today's craft question is, read it with me, how does combining sentences work? We're going to get practice taking short, choppy sentences and turning them into more complex sentences. Let's look at our last lesson's example. Example 1 and example 2. You're going to read these sentences aloud and you're going to think about how they sound. Pause the video now and read example 1 and example 2 out loud. Let me read these sentences, and as I do, I want you to be thinking, how do they sound to you? Does my writing help you focus more deeply in example 1 or example 2? Example 1. The artist depicts President Lincoln visiting Antietam battlefield. A general and the chief of the Secret Service are standing next to President Lincoln. They are standing in front of a tent. The artist depicts President Lincoln, a general, and the chief of the Secret Service standing in front of a tent at the Antietam battlefield. Did my second example stand out to you more? When our readers like the way our writing sounds, it helps them focus more deeply. Yesterday, we concluded that example 2 had some positive effects. My sentence flowed better, it was less choppy, I made connections between ideas in the sentence clearer for my reader. It was also more concise, and I used fewer words. I want you to take a moment and think about how the writer took ideas from the highlighted sentences and combined them with those in the first. I'm going to show both examples for you to see now. Pause your video and think, how did the writer combine the sentences from example 1 to example 2? You might have noticed how the writer took the ideas that are shaded in yellow in the first example and turned them into a phrase at the end of the sentence in example 2. Taking ideas and making them a phrase is one way to combine sentences. Here is an example of combining sentences by making a list with commas. Do you see how it starts with a list? The photograph posed President Lincoln in the center, comma, General McClellan on the right, comma, and Mr. Pinkerton on the left. Now you try it. Look at the sentence I have on the screen. Think about a way you can combine those by making a list with commas. you're going to pause the video now and you're going to experiment with combining sentences by making a list with commas. Pause now. So you should have a sentence that has commas that combine those two sentences. I want you to read the original sentence and your new sentence out loud. How did you do? Does your sentence flow better? Pause and do that now. If it flowed better, I want you to put your hands in the air and wiggle them all around. Look at the ideas you are trying to share. Does the way you combine the sentence make the thinking and connections clearer for the reader? If so, I want you to do the same thing, hands in the air, and wiggle them around. Have you used fewer words to convey the same ideas? If so, this time you're going to stand up and you're going to do a circle around your chair. Go. Writing sentences that flow are more clear and concise. This is an important attribute of effective writing. In a moment, we're going to look at another way to combine sentences. In the second way, we're going to use conjunctions. Have you heard of conjunctions before? You'll notice I have the definition of conjunctions on the screen. Conjunctions are those words that we use to connect clauses and sentences together. They're words like and, but, or, because, although. Those are examples of conjunctions. Pause the video and write down this definition and example in your journal. This will be helpful when you get to practice and experiment with conjunctions. Conjunctions are a great tool to help us when we combine sentences. Here is an example where the writer combines two sentences into one sentence using the conjunction because. Let's look at that example. President Lincoln is standing in the center. He is the most important person in the photograph. Now let's go to the second example. Can you see how because helps you see these ideas are connected? President Lincoln is in the center because he is the most important person in the photograph. Because helps us see that this sentence explains why. Read it again and think. Do you see how the word because combines the sentences? Now you try it. Look at the sentence I have on the screen. Think about a way you can combine them using the conjunction and. We are using and because and combines two ideas that are similar. And is like adding in math. We might describe this photograph and tell how the artist does this and he does that. He does both things. I'm going to ask you to pause the video now so you can experiment and try combining the two sentences and the words with the word and. Pause. Okay, you're going to read the original sentences you wrote and your new sentence aloud, thinking, how did you do? Does your sentence flow better? Do it now. If your sentence flows better, you're going to stand up and you're going to wave your arms around. I want you now to look at the ideas you are trying to share. Does the way you combine the sentences make the connection clear? If so, this time you're going to put your hands on your head. If your sentence makes the connection clear, you're on track. Remember, When you combine sentences, you do not just put sentences together. You may also take words away. Look at this sentence. The tent, flaps, and ropes lead to the center of the image. Can you see how the first sentence uses fewer words? Now that second sentence. The tent flaps lead to the center of the image, and the tent ropes lead to the center of the image. Can you see how the second two sentences repeats words? Using fewer words and being careful about repeating words are more benefits to sentence combining. We have completed our second craft stage, experimenting. We've experimented with the skill of combining sentences. You're going to stop and think. What were the two different ways you learned to combine sentences today? Pause your video and think. I am confident that you remembered that we learned that we can use commas and make a list of related ideas, or we can use conjunctions to show how ideas relate. In our next lesson, we will continue to think about why combining sentences is a powerful tool for writing. As we do that, we'll use Wit and Wisdom's craft stages to help us learn and sharpen the skill. We will work through the last two craft stages. We will execute, and in the execute stage, we will try to put what we have learned to work in our own writing. Then, in the Excel stage, we're going to take a look at what we wrote, and we're going to think about how we can improve it, our skill of combining sentences. This concludes our third lesson. In our next lesson, we're going to look more closely at the photograph we examined today. You will also combine sentences in your own writing. This is one more reminder that if you do not have the text yet from Module 4, you want to make sure that you're trying to get access to that, either by finding it online, going to your local bookstore, or purchasing it. You can write down the title of the text now by pausing the screen if you don't have it. If you have any questions, contact us at info@greatminds.org. Thank you for learning together today, and take care. I will see you next time.